Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Today for Festive Friday we are going to be making a Thanksgiving card. Grateful, because why would you not be? And this is the inside of it. This is a 4-fold pop-up card. I'd made one way back when it was Celebration using those papers and stamps, and I thought, oh, let me Thanksgiving-arize it. So this is the card. It's actually using a new designer series paper, which is going to be available when the new online exclusives begin on November 4th, and it's called Sweet Days of Autumn. So I just thought these little critters were great to make a fun Thanksgiving card. So, and then what I did was I had them face where the greeting is on the inside. But without further delay, let me show you how to do it. It's not very complicated at all. It is using, it's a piece of Mossy Meadow, and it's 11 by 4 1/4, and it's scored at 5.5. So that is a pretty standard, fits in a regular envelope size of cardstock. So let me get my bone folder and crush that. And then what we need to do is we can just go ahead and stick the front piece on. So the trees, as you will have seen, are the opposite side to the critters that I cut out to go on the little pop-up squares. So we'll get that stuck on, make sure the trees are the right way up. And then the inside piece has 2 more pieces of designer series paper. These are just 2 different patterns, and these are 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to mat them onto the Very Vanilla because I felt it'd give it a little pop, because these colors are quite dark and I didn't want it to be a dismal card. So the Very Vanilla is actually 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So there are 2 of those. So I'll just quickly layer those on. And because it's the designer series paper, there's no stamping needed, so we can just pop it straight inside the card once the layers are done. The usual advice is to stamp your pieces before you commit them to the inside of your card. So no stamping required. Oops. Ew, stickiness. So there we go. So now these can go on the inside of the card with just a small layer around. But like I say, I do feel the Very Vanilla gives it a little pop. And just, I don't know if you can, well you can if I hold it close enough. This designer series paper I feel has an orientation. So if you follow and make this exact card, my advice would just be careful of the way that you place it. And then what I did was I went ahead and I fussy cutted out some of the critters on the paper. So actually you can see these are where they came from, because they're just everywhere. So I just committed 1 piece of paper and cut them all out using my snips ahead of time. But when I came to put them onto the Very Vanilla, I felt they were kind of a little bit plain. So what I did was I took this lovely background stamp, which came from the Wild Ferns, and I'm just going to stamp it in the crushed curry, which is one of the colours of the designer series paper. So I'm going to put one of these lovely scratchinesses. I'm not really quite sure what this pattern is, but I do like it, and it fills the space nicely. So the squares I cut out of stylish shapes with the square in the middle, and then the Mossy Meadow I cut just a little bit bigger at 2 1/8 square. So let me go ahead and put most of these on. I'm actually going to bring in my silicone mat because there are little pieces that stick out and I don't want to get sticky on my work surface if I can help it, especially the little deer's legs, for example. And as you've seen twice already, I've managed to stick things to myself. So it would be wise not to have them stick to too much. But last task would be to do some stamping, and like I just said, I always find it advisable to do the stamping first. So that's all of the critters stuck onto their squares. And then what I did was I took For You out of Iconic Imagery. They're two separate stamps, but I put them onto one acrylic block, and then I could line them up. And I'm going to bring in the Mossy Meadow, and I can stamp both of those at the same time. And then while we're stamping, I will bring back, no, wrong colour, Alyson. I will bring in the Cajun Craze, which coordinates with the inside. And I've got a piece of Very Vanilla, and this little piece is 2 3/4 by 1 1/4, and I'm going to use the Grateful, which is one of the bigger greeting stamps in the Iconic Imagery. And just stamp it in the middle. So that's all the stamping done, and the rest is cutting and assembling. So now we've got everybody squared away, as it were. I'll go ahead and get those put quickly onto their background squares, which, as I said, are 2 1/8 of Mossy Meadow. And then we've got the strip that they will all sit along. I love this little guy, chunky little bear. Really quite nice designs, and they all go together and they all lend themselves very nicely to an autumn theme. So what we need to do with the greeting for the front is I'm going to chevron it, and the way we do that is eyeball the middle and just cut up a little way, and then cut from each corner to the point where you cut. And because you've cut in the middle, you'll get a nice even banner. So I'll do it on this side, about 1/4 inch. You can make it as big as you want, of course, but if I just cut up to that point, then I've got nice evenly chevroned edges. And what I did was I went ahead. This little piece of crushed curry is 7/8, and it was just a scrap that I had. So I chevroned both edges the same. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut those in half and pop a little bit of adhesive on those and tuck them in behind, because it's not seen. So I'll do it over the dark, actually, and it might stand out a little bit better. So I'm just lining up the points, and it gives it, actually, that just needs to come down a little schmeck. And even the points out. And you can just adjust them as you think they need. It seems mine need adjusting a bit more than I thought they would. But that's the little banner made. And then the piece where they pop up from is just a 1-inch strip, and it's scored at 2 3/4, 5 1/2, and 8 1/4. We just need to give those a little score. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put the 2 outer edges down so the middle can fold when the card closes. And the best thing to do that with is either the liquid glue or tear and tape. It really needs to be a strong adhesive because it's going to get pulled upon quite a bit. So I'll just stick 4 lengths of tear and tape on the 2 ends, 2 each. And then we can do a lot of assembling. So the edges, what you need to do is take the backing off if you've used tear and tape, or put your glue on, and then line it up with the edge. I'm just eyeballing the middle, and then we're going to line it up with the very edge of the card. So that one is down. Nothing on the middle too. And then we're going to take the sticky backing off. I'll put more glue on the other side. And then what you need to do is make sure it's even across and line up the edges. Now the funny thing is, and I don't know why that would be, seeing as it's exactly the same size, there's always a little bevelly bit in the middle, but it's always better that your card will close exactly, because nobody opens a card and forces it to open the whole way. So that's the advice. Stick one side to the edge, stick the other side to the edge, and it's sort of like let the middle fall where it may. And because I'm a lefty, I turned mine over, so I know to orient my designer series paper on the inside. And then what we're going to do is just run a strip along the middle. But of course the trick is to make sure that your critters, or whatever design you have on these squares, is the right way up, because if by accident you've turned them round, you're going to stick them on at the wrong angle. Then your card will stay closed. So chunky little guy, I'm going to pop him over there, and then I will put the fox next, and I'm just lining them up, sort of eyeballing them across. Then the greeting square, and then the reindeer. Now when I made the one in the spring, these birds were facing this way and this guy was facing the other way, so the greeting square went there. And I did the same thing, it just meant I had to move this over because I want them all to be looking at what you're signing. And then what I did do was I actually just cut out 2 extra little pieces. There's a little owl, baby owl, and a cute little, do you know, I nearly said crocodile. I do not have a clue where crocodile came from. Hedgehog is the word I'm looking for. So I'm going to pop the hedgehog in the corner, and then pop the owl just up at the top so it looks like he's sitting down. And that's the card when it's closed. The greeting I am actually going to pop on with dimensionals, but here's the thing that you have to be aware of. This is a fat card because of all the folding. So if you're going to use dimensionals to attach your greeting, you need to do it either at the top or at the bottom. So when it gets into the envelope, it can be on this area, which will squish down. If you put dimensionals on top of where all this thickness of cardstock is, it's not going to make it through the post office dimensions that, you know, they'll charge you extra for it. So if you put it at the top or at the bottom, it will fit into a standard envelope and go with 1 stamp. So let me just pop that up in the top. And there you have it. So it's a 4-fold pop out. I think that's rather cute. The new paper, this will be available on November 4th from when it goes as an online exclusive, Sweet Days of Autumn. But the concept is the same, and I think that's rather fun. I'll bring in the other one just for a laugh. So these were the 3. This was the inspiration, and these were the 2 from today. If you like what you've seen, please consider subscribing. Give me a thumbs up. I do always appreciate those. If you have any questions or comments, pop those in the description box below, and I will always get back to you. The directions and dimensions and all the measurements and all that good stuff will be on my blog. You just need to search in the bar for the name of the card that you're looking for. And last but not least, thanks so much for watching.